to York. Garland was just 47 when she died back in 1969, but her music lives on through the many films she appeared in.
Yeah, the songbook of Judy Garland stars Lorna Luft, Garland's youngest daughter, along with X Factor runner-up Ray Quinn. Well, we're delighted to welcome Ray to the show this afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us, Ray. So what attracted you to the show?
Me? Oh, well, I just, you know what, I've always admired when I did my swing music back in 2007, long time ago. I've always had a love for the swing era and that cool atmospheric Hollywood scene, and been a fan of Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and Donald O'Connor and all these people who just could entertain. Doesn't matter what they were asked to do. That as men, they'd get up and dance and sing and entertain, and they just always looked like they loved life. And I think that shone through. And then when I heard about the show coming along, and Chris Minogue, our director, and Arlene Phillips, the creative director, gave me a bell and just said, you know, would you be interested? I was like, of course.
So what role do you play then in this?
So basically, I'm just playing myself, really. There's no real role, but we put scenes together, like me and my girl and stuff like that, where Fred Astaire and like a Ginger Rogers scenes where they're dancing type of thing, or the me and my girl that we're doing is basically from the movie, with Gene Kelly and Judy Garland, and the whole scene where they're sort of on a set and then they playing the piano, and then 1 minute they're singing, and they sort of imitate that they're sort of in love, and the whole dance scene with this tap and there's running back and forth from the stage and stuff. It's just, I've never been in my tap shoes so much since I started rehearsals, but it's been absolutely amazing to get back into this level of dance. It's really exciting for me.
You said earlier on about your type of music, Ray, and the swing era and all that. You know, you're a young lad. Where do you think the music of Judy Garland is?
Well, I was the mistake in my family. So my mum and dad had me quite late, and they used to play all that music, so I grew up with it. And I'm 26, I'm only 26, but because I grew up with it and I was influenced by it, I just sort of fell in love with it, really, just like my dad had it around his house when he was growing up and stuff like that. So, you know, to be involved in this show is a real honour, and obviously being alongside Lorna, she knows so many people, and she talks about, you know, Frank Sinatra like he's, you know, his next door neighbour. And obviously I grew up with all that, and listening to these people and just going, wow, I can't actually believe she's met them and knows them. And wow.
But the whole thing is legendary, isn't it? You know, the legend that is Judy Garland, and that legend continues now with Liza Minnelli, with Lorna Luft. Are you aware? Is the company aware of just what this show is all about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got Chris Minogue, our director, didn't fail to put a fantastic team of people together. I texted him the other day just saying, you must feel so proud knowing such a great team you've got, because they're so welcoming and so lovely. When I came on board, because I came on sort of quite last minute, because one of the lads sort of dropped out because his wife was pregnant and stuff, and I said, you know, can you jump in? I said, yeah, absolutely. But we, you know, with Lorna, and we've got Louise Dearman, who's West End from The Wicked in the West End, and she was just, her voice is insane. And obviously with all the dance moves and everything, with my dance background, it all seems to fit really well, and the show's coming together. But yeah, I'm a bit nervous to be opening, to be honest. I always am.
There's a lot of respect needed as well, isn't there? Because, you know, this is so personal to Lorna. This is her mum. This is, you know, something that she obviously feels very, very passionately about to do. And she's singing the songs that her mum wrote and performed all those years ago.
Yeah.
And every night she's doing that. And, you know, you're standing alongside her. How does that feel?
Yeah, well, you know, before, it feels amazing, incredible, to be honest, to be a part of it all. It's a real honour. I mean, before we started the job, which I've never had before, because it is so personal, obviously, we had sheets upon sheets of paper of briefings of Judy's background, her life, what she's been through, what type of woman she was, what type of person she was, on the inside, and then what type of performer she was, you know, on the outside and everything else. And we had a background on Lorna and stuff, so we were educated before we'd even met anybody, which was really personal. And I think you know you're getting into a really good company when that briefing is so, you know, it's completely diluted, so you know exactly where you stand. And that personal touch only adds to it when you see Lorna sing in Mum's songs. You're just going, wow, you know, my little boy, you know, if I grow up and I've had a successful career, and he's singing the songs of my legacy and what I've achieved in my career, and you know, you can only imagine what she feels like. And Mum, of course, looking down on her, going, "Wow, you know,
and
look what I did."
Talking of you and your career, just goes to show that, I mean, the success that you've had.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to win X Factor to be successful.
No, I suppose so. Yeah. But I think having something to fall back on. I mean, I was a baby. I was 17 or 16 when I first auditioned. So, you know, I had a lot to take in, a lot to do, and it sort of took over my life for a long time. But actually, coming out the back of it and having the album and selling platinum and the tour and everything else has been absolutely superb. But having something to fall back on, which felt like a sort of a natural step for me, was to go into musicals and stuff. And I've done a few, and sort of my dream role was Danny in the West End, and I did that. And this is just another fantastic sort of notch in my career.
Well, I wish you all the best with it. It's touring around the country. It's coming to the Grand Opera House on the 14th to the 16th of May. It stars Lorna Luft with Ray Quinn. Ray, thanks very much indeed.
No worries, mate. Nice one.
Month.
Doesn't come much better than this, to be perfectly honest. The songbook of Judy Garland takes fans on a magical journey through the songs that made her unique in the world of showbiz.
Along with never-seen-before film highlights and interviews, the show aims to bring Judy's dazzling songbook to life on stage with an award-winning cast who are the creme of London's West End.
And what makes this all the more special is that Judy's daughter, Lorna Luft, is the star of the show, along with X Factor runner-up Ray Quinn. We'll be talking to Ray a little bit later on. But first, Lorna Luft, good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Lorna Luft is on the programme.
Oh, thank you, you guys.
Fantastic.
How did you feel when you approached Lorna about this show, from both a family and a performer's perspective?
I felt really good about it because I really wanted this to happen, because no show has really taken on her songbook. And, of course, it is a magnificent library of music. It is an incredible journey and legacy that she not only left to me, but left to everyone. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because I know that there are so many fans out there who remember. They remember where they were the very, very first time they heard these songs. They remember what they were doing. They remember all of that. And then there's a few generations that will be pleased and will be, I think we'll have an education of what she left to all of us.
I've got to say, the hairs on the back of my neck, as soon as you started to talk, just shot up. And it's a ridiculous thing to say. You sound just like your mum. The voice is astonishing.
Oh, thank you.
It's terrific. And it's when you think of Judy Garland, Lorna, you know, your mum, 37 movies, thousands of concerts, died at the incredibly young age of 47. You were 16 at the time. What are your memories of living with Mum and being the daughter of the legend that is Judy Garland?
Yeah, but you see, she was your legend, and she was your icon, and she was my mom.
Yeah.
So it was my normal. I didn't have anything to compare it to. I didn't. I thought that because we grew up for the first 8 years of my life in Beverly Hills, I thought, you know, these were all of the people that came to my house who were friends of my mother's and peers of my mother's, and they happened to be incredibly, incredibly famous. They weren't famous to me. They were, for instance, my girlfriend who is still my dear friend today, Leslie Bogart. Okay, yeah, her father was Humphrey Bogart and her mother was Lauren Bacall,
Wow.
but she was just Leslie, and those people were just her mom and dad.
And was that important to realise that actually my mum just happens to be Judy Garland?
No,
Her
but I
mum
didn't
just
know
happens to
that.
Right.
We didn't know that.
Right.
It's like if you come from a family of lawyers, somebody's going to be a lawyer, and they're going to be famous lawyers in your house, and they come from a family of doctors. It's the same thing. So
having Sinatra and Dean Martin sat on your sofa was nothing out of the ordinary. Really.
no, it wasn't. He was my godfather. Frank Sinatra was my godfather. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary because it was my normal. You know, when you talk to people like, you know, you talk to Frank Jr. or Nancy Jr., and you talk to my friend Dina Martin, or you talk to Lisa Marie Presley, we're all in a very... there's a minority of us because of the legendary status of our parents, but we didn't know it was any different.
And there's a huge loyalty as well, I would think, and a need to keep her legacy and her memory alive in very positive ways. And what more positive than doing something like this?
That's the reason I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this because it is a positive and remarkable take on this songbook with a cast that I am so honored to share a stage with, because they are spectacular and they're the nicest group of people I've worked with, and they are truly talented, and we've become really good friends, and they're just lovely. And to just see a whole generation of young West End artists discovering this material and discovering who she was and what she left us, it's really, I sort of sometimes just sit in the corner and giggle. Because I think, yeah, they're getting it. They got it. They understand it.
When did you realise? What age were you when you realised what your mum had achieved? I mean, I'm just thinking of the Wizard of Oz, which even today, you know, little girls and boys of 8 and 9 will be sat watching for the first time. That will have been something that you experienced as well.
Yeah.
And that in turn keeps her memory alive, however many years on.
Yes, of course. Listen, I guess I was maybe 4 or 5 when I saw the movie for the very first time, and I got just as scared as everybody else, and I got just as, you know, it was. I wrote about this in my book, because I wrote a book, and then of course the book became a 4-hour miniseries, and I was lucky enough to win 5 Emmy Awards for that. And it's a movie that is timeless. It's a movie that is iconic. Mm-hmm. It's a movie that I am incredibly protective of, and that I feel very, very strongly about. Sort of not. I'm not a big fan of people who mess with the material, as I call it. I just think that everybody should accept The Wizard of Oz for what it is and sort of leave it alone. You know, when they start doing other variations on it, it's a little bit difficult for me, because, you know, how do you go and touch perfection? Mm-hmm. And that movie is the perfect movie. And the reason that it's so perfect is because of the honesty. Mm. Because you honestly believe all those characters, and you honestly believe the story, and you honestly, because the acting in it was spectacular.
And it promoted a child's imagination, which is something that we all hope our children will have.
Well, I think the one thing that the movie does is it promotes hope. Mm. And it promotes, I mean, when you think about the actual message of the movie is so simple, because it's about home, and it's about courage, and it's about love, and it's about intelligence. Mm. So it's a very simple message from all of the characters when L. Frank Baum wrote the original book.
A lot of
and I
life
think that's
lesson.
why it is a life lesson,
Yeah.
and there are great, great lines from the film that are just sort of, if you take them into your everyday life, it all sort of works. And it's just, as I said, it's a movie that I'm very, very, very proud to have as a part of my legacy, my children's legacy, and now my granddaughter's legacy, because I have a new granddaughter who's 8 months old.
And I bet you can't wait to sit down and watch it with her.
Well, you know, we talked about that. Her mom and I talked about, said, when are we going to show her the movie? And I said, well, we're going to show her the movie when she is old enough so she won't get so terrified that we don't have to pay for the psychiatrist bill after she sees the movie.
So, what's in the show? Was it a situation of sitting down thinking, it's all very well putting these songs in the show, but what on earth are we going to leave out? Because the songbook, the Judy Garland songbook, is immense.
Yes, it is. And that's one of the things that was, it was a little overwhelming. There's some songs that are, that you know, we all thought, they have to be in. And it's all of the usual and the regular songs. But then there's some really interesting pieces in the show that I don't think people have seen and or heard. And there are some things that have been cut from movies. Mm-hmm. There are some things that it's new stuff, and they're all done in a very interesting and amazing way on stage. And it's something that's so you know, people expect a spectacle nowadays, and we're giving them that.
Well, including song and dance.
Yes.
Arlene Phillips is the choreographer, isn't she?
Arlene Phillips is our director, yes.
And so lots of high kicks, lots of, you know, Hollywood showbiz,
No, you know what?
Spangle.
Arlene is an amazing director, and the thing about Arlene is it's all about heart. Mm-hmm. Okay, and honesty. And the one thing that it's really truly about is that everybody has to give 110%. Otherwise, we're not going to match up to the person who we are paying tribute to, because she gave 110%. Mm-hmm. So that's why and Arlene, I've always said this about Arlene, because she and I have been friends for way over 40 years. And I said to Arlene, I sometimes think you were born in the wrong era. You know, because she understands the wonderful and the brilliance of the Gene Kellys and the Fred Astaire's and my mom and all of the great Hollywood iconic movie musical people. And I said, Arlene, you understand that you would have been up on that screen with all of them.
Hmm. And just to finish, Lorna, how is it for you on stage singing those songs of your mum?
You know, it's sort of like, I'll tell you what it feels like. It's the only way I can sort of describe it. You know, after you had a really sort of long winter and you go out and it's the first day of spring and summer, and you go out and there's that warmth in the air and it sort of wraps you up like a great cashmere sweater or something that you can put on, and it feels really familiar and it feels really warm and it feels really cozy. That's what it feels like.
Well, we can't wait to see it.
Yep.
3 nights you come to York for in May. It's been a pleasure and a joy to talk to you. And we
Thank
wish you
you.
well.
It has. Lorna, thanks ever so much.
Thank you so much.
Ever wondered what it takes